UCLA Cal, the football rivalry that lives on.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Download, subscribe, review, everything. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and this breaking news edition is a stunner of which where UCLA has been a schedule switch, right? The Bruins, of course, heading to the Big Ten. You wonder with all the travel this year, UCLA heading to Hawaii, heading to LSU, Penn State, Nebraska, Rutgers. They're going all across the country. Something like they're basically going around the earth 3 times. Not exactly true. But in future years, you can make that a little easier on yourself for UCLA because instead of making those cross-country trips early in the season for non-conference games, UCLA has to do that for conference games in the middle of winter, early fall. UCLA has now, all of a sudden, changed their schedules from 2025 to 2028 or 2030, right? UCLA has changed, took out 2 teams, and all of a sudden brought in some Pac-12 legacy games, right? So according to Ben Bolch, who tweeted this out, wrote an article about it, I believe the first report initially reported was 24/7 Sports. I saw Utah had talked about the game. UCLA is no longer playing Georgia or Auburn. They're no longer going to go to Auburn or Georgia or host them in 25 and 27 or whatever those years were. UCLA gets to play Utah in 25 at home. Again, Cam Rising did have an 8th year of eligibility. I think I saw earlier in social media. He's probably not going to be there, though. Maybe not even Kyle Whittingham because he might be retiring and they have a coach in waiting. But the big thing is the Cal rivalry lives on. They've scheduled the Cal game from 26, 27, 28, and 29. The 26 game will be at Cal, 27 at UCLA, back and forth, back and forth. UCLA plays Utah in 25 in the Rose Bowl. Then they go back to Rice-Eccles in 2030. So they've scheduled and rescheduled games from 25 all the way out to 2030. So in is Pac-12 legacy lives on forever. Bring back the Pac-12 network for those games. Dang it. No. Never. But you know what dies? College football pageantry and fun road games and experiences, bringing the SEC out west and UCLA going out to the SEC in the south. Either way, the Calamoni still lives on. I was reading the Ben Bolch article, and it's not expected because of this exclusive, high, enticing matchup that'll certainly be College Game Day in 2026 whenever they play at Memorial Stadium. UCLA, it's not going to affect their Cal money payments. It's not. But in what is one of the longest standing college football rivalries, even older than UCLA USC, the Bruins and the Cal Golden Bears will be playing each other at least for 4 consecutive years. Maybe they'll add more. The Pac-12 legacy lives on, right? This is what we're going to see in college basketball, what we're going to see in college football. You're going to see the new day and age where instead of 9 games, you're going to get it sprinkled around, right? In basketball, UCLA, they're going to get Gonzaga. They're going to get Arizona. It's already been teased about. Maybe this year, probably that's what already has been reported, whether it's the Intuit Dome, going up to Washington to play Gonzaga, going to Vegas to play Arizona, whatever it may be, they're going to get those games. Now, UCLA is getting the football equivalent. One, let's just go play Cal every year, right? It's going to turn into like the Clemson, South Carolina. It's going to turn into Florida State. It's going to be those rivalries where it'll be not in the same conference anymore. Maybe not the intensity. We can argue about the intensity about those things. That's not exactly what I'm saying. But what UCLA Cal is going to be is probably that Week 12, 13 matchup probably where UCLA might play USC the week before, as it should be at the end of the year. And then they'll play Cal later in the season, right? Because Cal, Stanford, that was never always the last game. UCLA, USC hasn't really been the last game at the end of the year. It's always been UCLA, Cal. And this year, they get Fresno State, which could very well be a very entertaining game to break that freaking losing streak to Fresno State. But that's not it. UCLA gets Utah. They get Cal. I initially saw it from Ben Bowl to the LA Times. But in 26 and 28, UCLA goes to Cal. They host the Utes in 25. They go to Utah in 2030. And they host the Bears in 27 and 29. So no longer is UCLA going to go across the country. So there's no longer a schedule probably that will look like this one. Unfortunately, what conference realignment has done, it's going to ruin the cross-country road game or the cross-country home and home. So as much as I'm going to love seeing like Penn State in a UCLA game, in a conference game, and, love is an interesting word, but going to the Big House, going to Ohio State, going to Beaver Stadium, right? Seeing these fun games, we're going to lose these games. We're going to lose let's go down to LSU, right? Because that might very well, with the 12-team expanded playoff, you're going to get your local games. At least UCLA is going to emphasize that. Still, as much as they're getting a lot of money, they're going to save costs. How are they going to benefit athlete mental health? They're going to do it by playing Cal and Stanford and all the other local, they're going to schedule probably Oregon State and Washington State, these games, right? That hasn't happened, but they're probably going to schedule these games every so often so they don't travel every week, right? Hawaii, LSU, Penn State is not the schedule UCLA had in mind when they were going in 2024 to map out their football schedule. And to prepare for all that money they're going to spend for those planes and everything they're going to spend this year, they're cutting costs the next few years by saying, a lot cheaper to host Utah next year than doing a whole lot of the other stuff, right? It's a whole lot cheaper to go do all these other things. And yes, we could say UCLA's scared, whatever. Michigan did it first. So screw you, Michigan. But UCLA now is trying to do things, and it's not going to affect, according to this LA Times article, the $10 million Calamoni annual payments. So UCLA playing Cal, the rivalry lives on, but I'm excited to see Pac-12 legacy. You could argue about the legacy of Utah's Pac-12, but they did win it, right? So they are the Pac-12 legacy in the last decade. So it lives on. Let's get that late night Pac-12 after dark again in Big 10 versus Big 12 football. Yeah. Unfortunately, Cam Rising won't be there. Maybe not even Kyle Whittingham, but that's all to be found out. And then UCLA Cal, that will be entertaining. And hopefully those games get some buzz after a year off in 2024. So that's your big time news, how UCLA is changing their schedule. It'll probably be West Coast friendly in the non-conference, right? You're going to see your Fresno States. You're going to probably see a San Diego State. Now it's going to be thrown into Cal, Oregon State, and Washington State. And don't be surprised in future. You're going to see Stanford in there. They're going to throw that in there. All right? That's going to happen. That's not reportedly going to happen. That just will happen at some point. That's a given. Now that this has already happened in the middle of July of 24. So let's get excited and see how these things play out in the years to come. All right? So I'm excited. I'm disappointed. No going to Athens. No going to Auburn. But, oh well. War Eagle, sorry. Zach Blackerby, Locked On Auburn, sorry. Sorry you didn't want to do it. Sorry. My bad. All right, but here we are. Well, let's bring on the Golden Bears. Let's punch them in the face, not literally, on the gridiron by running the rock and pounding the pads and making them pay in losses for the Calamoni payments, right? Not literally punching, but let's get excited for that, all right? This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We're going to talk about FanDuel here, but, hey, let's enjoy everything with what UCLA has to offer. So the episode brought to you by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com. Check out your boost or bonus daily on FanDuel.com because we're not sporting as we used to. The big news of the day is a schedule that's changing in 25 and beyond. That's the big news. That's where we're at in the sporting world right now, is the playoff season winds down. So go to FanDuel. Dream up your bets. FanDuel.com. They've got something for you, for me, for everything we want as the sportsing season, the playoff season winds down. That's why you got to go to FanDuel.com, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, get your hands up, UCLA fans. You know what this means. A loud A clap so they can hear you in Berkeley and Salt Lake City. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. Beat those Golden Bears. Go Bruins, baby. I'm excited. Zach signing off this short and breaking news edition of Locked On UCLA. Go Bruins. UCLA, the real flagship of the UCs.